Where am I?
You're in the afterlife. You've died.
Am I dead? How did I die? Did I, like a car crash or a fire or something?
You choked on a grape.
Really?
No. Let's find out if you're in the book of life. Okay, what's the name again? Caleb? All right. Caleb. Oh, I think I found you right here. Okay, let's see. Caleb Weidman accepted Jesus Christ as his Lord and Savior when he was 6 years old. Awesome. Oh, I don't think I'm going to be able to let you in.
What?
Well, it says here that you photoshopped a bunch of people into the seats of a photo at your church that weren't actually there. And I'm sorry, that's a deal breaker.
I did not do that.
Really? There were 4 people wearing a giant red shirt that day?
I don't know, maybe?
In the same row? Mr. Weidman, leave the lying to the televangelists, please. Quite frankly, they do it better.
Okay, what happens now then?
Well, it's straight to church media hell for you.
Church media hell? There's different hell? Oh, this ain't so bad.
Why do you hate God?
Clear?
Hi, I'm Caleb, and today we're going to talk about 5 photo editing tips and tricks that you could use to spice up your church photography. Welcome to Blackbar. If you're watching a video like this, I assume you would know a lot about the basics, adjusting contrast, exposure, saturation. It's all stuff you can do on your phone these days. We're gonna kick it up a notch.
Yeah!
No more milk for you.
Yeah!
We need some meat on them bones.
Yeah!
First up, what's a LUT? As you might imagine, camera sensors built by different manufacturers don't interpret light equally. Taking a photo with the exact same settings on a Canon and a Nikon will look different. In general, Canon sensors do really well with skin tones, while Nikon sensors give you a bit more accurate, albeit cooler, look. Neither is better or worse, but these differences can cause issues if you have multiple photographers shooting the same scene with different equipment. Fortunately, some folks smarter than all of us figured out a solution to the problem. They took a picture of a color card with both cameras, then ran them through a computer to calculate the different color interpretations of exactly this shade of red, that blue, and this green. They could use that information to copy the color profile of one camera over to the photos of another. Now we have what we call lookup tables, or LUTs for short. The good news? They could do way cooler stuff than just making your Nikon's photos look like they were taken on a proper camera.
Oh, snap!
You can also use lookup tables to emulate old school film cameras. There's a handful of these tables built into Photoshop itself. Just head down to Adjustment Layers, Lookup Table, and pick your favorite from the list. You'll probably notice that quite a few of the options here aren't just old school film cameras. Eventually, people started realizing that you could pre-program color grades and effects into lookup tables, effectively creating what we know now as Instagram filters. Might I suggest fall colors? Maybe late sunset? How about futuristic bleak? There's a nearly endless supply of lookup tables to download online. Some are for free and others are more premium options that you have to pay for. You can also create your own lookup tables in Photoshop by perfecting your look using adjustment layers in your layer panel, then head to File, Export, and Lookup Tables. Now you have a consistent grade that you can throw on any photo that you'd like. Now listen. LUTs are cool and all, but they're not a replacement for handcrafted color grading. There's no one lookup table that will look good on every photo. I often use them as more of a creative springing off point. They're an incredibly fast way to try out different moods and grades and casts, but you'll likely need to pull back the opacity, change the blending mode, or make additional adjustments to end up with a balanced photo. And remember, there's definitely such a thing as too much filter. Keep the Visco Girl influence out of your editing process. Number 2, let there be light. This one is an oldie, but it's a goodie. Way, way, way back in the days of film photography, if there was a specific part of the photo that was too bright or too dark, it was time to bust out the dodge and burn tools. You could use them to easily increase or decrease the exposure of certain parts of the image. Today, we have an endless list of ways to achieve a similar effect. However, I'd like to focus on a very specific technique I've found very helpful in shooting people on the stage on Sundays. Often, when I get a photo of our lead pastor preaching on a Sunday. He's exposed very well, but often surrounded by black or a relatively darker background. He pops off the photo really well, sure, but I'd love to find a way of bringing that dynamic lighting that's on him to the rest of the photo. I do that with a process that I call light painting. It's very likely that other people do this and call it something different, as when I Google light painting, I mostly just get long exposure pictures of people spinning lights around in the dark. But this is my video, and I'm calling it light painting. I'm taking it back for the people.
Communism.
What? Anyway, create a new layer and grab your brush tool. I drop a color that's similar to the color temperature of the light that's hitting your subject. Grab a really big, really soft brush and paint a big blob of color in the direction the light is coming from. It's okay if that light is off the screen. Then change the blending mode to screen or add and adjust the opacity to taste. If done correctly, the light will look what we call volumetric. The color cast will be visible in the air, not just on the subject. This is a really easy way to make it look like your sanctuary has as much haze as you want without listening to Sister Cheryl pretend to cough up a lung every time you fire up the hazer to make your lights look cool.
Dude, you gotta stop bringing that up.
It's water vapor. Number 3, selectee. Sometimes you gotta cut stuff out. Maybe you need to push the subject a couple feet over to the right. Maybe you need to change the hue or exposure of a very specific, very complex shape. Getting a clean, perfect cut is incredibly time consuming, especially when dealing with the lasso tool's worst nightmare, hair. The trick I'm about to show you literally changed my life. I was just lost, you know? Was this pixel hair or not? Was it somewhere in between? What did this mean? For you, for me, for us? Where was this going? The magic wand tool has lost its sparkle. Quick select is too ambitious, and the pen tool, a shadow of its illustrator self. I didn't know where to turn. It was there, at my lowest point, stuck between the magnetic lasso tool and the rectangular marquee. I saw it. It was everything I needed. It was there when no one else was. It was the Select and Mask menu. Grab yourself a rough selection of whatever you need to cut out. I mean it, rough. Close enough is good enough. When using any selection tool, the Select and Mask button will be up in the contextual menu at the top of the screen. Pop it open to reveal the magic. There's a lot of stuff in here to play with, but the heavy hitter is the Refine Edge tool. Drag that sucker across any of your problematic edges and watch Photoshop turn your laughable attempt at accuracy into a perfect cut every time. Don't have time to trace? Cross your fingers and jack up the radius to let Photoshop take its best guess at the proper edge around your selection, although your results may vary. You can even finagle with feathering, shifting, or sharpening your edge with the refinement tools. Export that bad boy as a layer mask or selection and watch your wildest dreams come true. Perfect selections made easy. Bam. Number 4, mind control. Every once in a while, your subject needs a little bit more oomph. Like, obviously you know what your subject is, but your photo is full of so much magnificent detail that it's easy for your audience to get caught up in the environment and miss the focal point of your image. If only there was a way to subconsciously force the viewer to look exactly where you want them to. I can't wink. Vignettes are often misunderstood, often misused, powerful eye-drawing tools. A good vignette is not seen, it's felt. It's subtle enough to draw my eye to the subject without noticing the shift in exposure. My go-to method for creating easy vignettes is creating a radial gradient adjustment layer, changing the colors to black and white, and adjusting the scale and position to match my photo. Then, just change the blending mode to soft light and tweak the opacity to just when you stop noticing the effect and start feeling it instead. An effect like this is subtle, but it goes a long way in making the focus of your photo feel clear and intentional. Number 5, turn down the drive. When your camera sensor doesn't get enough light to accurately interpret the colors it's seeing, it takes its best guess on a per pixel basis. The inconsistency of these guesses leads to what we call noise. Some noise is good, a lot of noise is bad. It's easy to add noise to a photo, but how can you remove it without losing detail? If you've got the cash to blow, Neat Image is a miracle worker. It'll cost you up front, but it'll pay for itself in no time. I've seen completely unusable images brought back to life, sanctified, made whole, bought by the blood, redeemed. If you don't have the money to burn, you can still fix noise, but it'll cost you time. Pop open your problem image and head to Filter, Noise, Reduce Noise. Here's a skinny. Want less noise? Turn up the strength. Blurring too much of the details? Turn up Preserve Details. Keep sharpen details all the way down, as it usually ends up just reintroducing the noise we work so hard to delete. This will help, but if you still have bad noise, it's time to break out the big guns. Head to Filter, Blur, Surface Blur. The trick here is to find a balance between erasing the noise and preserving the important details of your photo. I typically zoom into an important detail of my photo and adjust the settings until your noise is at an acceptable level. And there you go. No more noisy photos. And that is it. 5 advanced tips you can use to fix up your photos every single week. It is worth saying, Photoshop can help you do some amazing work, but you can only polish a turd so much. The best trick to ending up with a good photo is starting with one. Thank you so much for watching today's Blackbar video. If you want to hear more of what we're talking about, make sure to check out the podcast. We go deeper into all of the subjects we cover here in the videos. If you want to talk to more like-minded people, check out our Discord to connect with other church media folk and us. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next week.